Good afternoon. Welcome to the XM.com weekly market update. And joining me from Cyprus this week is Peter McGuire, the CEO of XM. Hi, Pete.
Good morning, Andrew. How are you? It's a lovely day here. How's everything in Sydney?
Not too bad, not too bad. The weather's a little bit warmer this week, which is nice, but plenty of activity in the markets, particularly the local
Yeah.
markets. So we'll start there. The CPI expectation came out yesterday. It went up about 0.4%, which was a bit of a surprise, back to 4%. So a lot of the talk locally is, will the RBA have to raise interest rates?
Yeah, we've been discussing this on and off for the last 8 or 10 months together, and they can't seem to get it under control from an inflation standpoint, and that could be the pathway forward. It's certainly sending reverberations on, you're seeing that in the markets, and let's just see the first Tuesday of July will tell us, and we haven't got long to wait, have we?
Not at all. So, and once again, it affected the Aussie dollar a little bit, probably not as much as I would have thought. But I think the concern is that if rates have to go up, there's a lot of pain in the economy already. So another 25 basis points, you never know what may happen.
Well, that's right. I mean, you get to a point, probably stagflation, runaway inflation and negative growth. And we're probably at that borderline now with GDP will be zero or negative for a recession. And then, as you said, the Aussie hasn't bounced much, but what's really bounced has been the US dollar. It's nearly at 106 of that US dollar index. So as the US goes up, the Aussie goes up. They're going up in tandem in a lot of ways.
Which is unusual.
Well, it is, and it's unusual also. You've seen a big push down as far as gold and Bitcoin, both at 61,000 for Bitcoin and gold's at 2310. So it's been crushed.
Yeah. And if we look at another economy under a fair bit of pressure, Japan, the CPI numbers came out. The CPI went up slightly, which is not a bad thing. But on the back of that, the yen is under a heap of pressure, hitting around that 160 mark now.
Well, I think so. Well, first off, yes, you're building on 160. I think 161, you would expect some form of intervention. They'll just surprise the market as they do. They're not going to tell you, read the play. I think everyone that's short at the moment would have to be very conscious of that and be very careful, because if they do what they did last time, a 60 billion as far as buying yen, that's going to really rocket it back to possibly that 155 handle. And the other side, Andrew, is that you've got yen. Do we get another? We've laughed about it together, but another 10 basis points in July, because they didn't do anything in June as far as a rate rise for the Japanese. So possibly that, as you've said, inflation's up. Yeah, BOJ will probably tick it up 10 basis points.
And you would sort of think that would have to, you would think. But once again, as you say, they don't flag things all that often. So we'll wait and see what happens there.
The element of surprise.
Yeah, very much so. If we head over to Europe, obviously plenty of activity there, both in the UK and France, the turmoil in France at the moment. So this chart just gives us a few numbers on various, like the currencies, the stock market, etc. A lot of uncertainty and volatility coming out of that proposed election.
Absolutely. Well, this chart is only, a couple of weeks old, and then it's been a big washout, and you've got elections looming. I mean, what's going to happen naturally with the French and Macron, and then talk about what happens as far as Rishi Sunak in UK. So all of that together is really going to, I think, galvanize a change of sentiment. And obviously, at the moment, you've got to be short.
Yeah, and Macron is not popular at all at the moment, and you've got these right-wing parties look as though they may come to power. So time will tell, but certainly creates a lot of volatility once again happening in the euro as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this second half, we've spoken about it. The first half, I think, has been relatively volatile. But I think the second half of the year is going to be extremely volatile because of these elections, and then leading up naturally to the US election on November 5. So it's a sweeping change in market sentiment. And so, yeah, a changing of the guard across so many different, nations.
Seems to be the way. So US, we've got some big figures coming out. We've got the GDP later tonight. We've got the PCE numbers tomorrow. So GDP will be, once again, shows us the strength of that US economy, and the PCE will give us an indication of how the inflation is tracking in the US.
Well, that's right. I mean, if they were to do what we've done and to go up and not down, then that minimises the chances of a September rate cut. So we're just hanging in the wind, waiting for those numbers to drop.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on those. We'll check those next week. we're moving back into another earnings season in the US. So that started with
Yes.
a handful of companies this week. FedEx came out yesterday with a fantastic number. Micron came out this morning, the memory chip maker. They had a fantastic quarter as well. But obviously the big names will start rolling in over the next few weeks. So,
Yeah.
you know, we've said it, I'm not sure how many quarters we've said it now, Pete, where are we going to see some weakness in the US economy? But a lot of those big companies just keep on performing well.
Well, exactly. If you look at the Nasdaq, I mean, it's back nearly at that 18,000 handle. S&P's strong, Dow's strong. You can't go short at the moment. That fear of missing out. Everyone's asking, when's the time as far as an inflection point? At the moment, you couldn't still nudge up a few percent over this Northern Hemisphere summer, Andrew. And I think the US is really, it's got momentum at the moment. Let's just see how it rolls over the rest of summer.
Yeah, but so we'll keep an eye on those figures and touch base on those next week, and we'll regroup again next week, Pete.
I look forward to it, Andrew. Thank you again.
Great. Thanks, Pete. And that's the XM.com weekly market update.